Official name Ukraine. Capital Kiev. Population. Location Eastern Europe, bordering the Black Sea between Poland, Romania, and Moldova in the west and Russia in the east. Natural resources iron ore, coal, manganese, natural gas, oil, salt, sulfur, graphite, titanium, manganism, kaolin, nickel, mercury, timber, arable land. Type of government semi-presidential republic. Actual president Petro Poroshenko.
Ukraine is one of the biggest countries and has a strategic location. The main aspect is that the country has access to the sea, is rich in resources, industrial and nuclear weapons. But even though it has these positive characteristics, what makes it more attractive is the weakness of the country. That creates the intention of the European Union annexing the country as part of the Union. As a consequence, the EU will not only gain a strategic economic power but also open the door to the ideological EU's expansion. The purpose is the spreading of their own ideology and values in the country that do not belong to the 28 members to contrast the advance of Russia over Ukraine. BBC 2014. As it was mentioned, Ukraine represents a strategic point between Europe and Asia, being the second largest country in Europe. As well, it maintains a close relation and similarities with Russia, even though they had different postures regarding the Russian imperial past, but gained their independence after the Soviet disintegration in 1991. Russia lost an empire and superior power status, while Ukraine had a new start. In addition, Ukraine plays an important role to Russia's commercial strategies, besides of being its link into European Union's market sector. It is the main Ukrainian associated energetic sector 2016.
Background history. Even though this country is a key element for the European Union and Russia because of its central and geographic role, Ukraine has an internal and external weakness. In first place is a country with democratic weakness. Maybe the mechanism works but do not improve in certain situations because of being a post-communist country where economic issues are still present. As a consequence is a young country that is not ready for reforms. Even though the struggle with economy, the crucial thing in Ukraine is the energy gas sector. The problem was when the Soviet Union ended and they realized that they depended from this gas. Ukrainian citizens, tired of the government of Yanukovych, who stopped the process to become part of the European Union as a response to Russian government and Vladimir Putin influence. This took Yanukovych out of the power. This situation triggered the invasion of Russia on the Crimea as a form to protect their interests of not being deprived or limited by the new Ukrainian leaders and preventing the influence of Western political directions. Siegel, 2014.
How the conflict started. A month after Russia annexed the Crimea territory, pro-Russian activists attacked government buildings in the Donetsk and Lugansk regions. Many of the rebels were armed, and the authorities in Kiev quickly turned into a confrontation. Russian media and politicians submitted to the leaders of Kiev as nationalists who tried to abolish the rights of Russian-speaking inhabitants. In addition, following the mass protests that led to the impeachment of the former President Viktor Yanukovych and an extensive outrage at the installation of a new pro-Western government emerged. BBC 2014.
Some of the main reasons why the European Union wants to make Ukraine a member state is because EU wants to have the Ukraine in the brotherhood relations. It wants the stability of the country, avoiding other conflicts as the Syrian issues. The European as well wants to attach and export its values to other countries in ideological means. As well, they seek for the country to be prosperous because if they are, it means potential business economic interest. This means that for Ukraine, the European Union means a major labor market. Ukraine relates the European Union to better standards, which means prosperity. And finally, the European Union has demonstrated its support towards Ukraine as it has imposed in collaboration with the US and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization sanctions to Russia as it has attacked and intimidated Ukraine, according to these nations.
Ukraine hasn't been only a victim. According to a report by United Nations, it stated that 1,1019 have been registered as deaths since the Ukraine conflict began. Another consequence that the conflict has caused is the immigration of Ukraine towards Russia, which has been approximately of 1,800 people or other parts of Ukraine. Regarding human rights, it has implications of Russian invading and supporting part of rebels in Russia, as Ukraine bombing civil regions trying to stop separatists.
There are two possible scenarios if Ukraine decides to be part of the European Union. The first, the positive, would ensure association agreements. That means that the country has to adopt the laws in their constitution according to the European Union arrangements. It would deep a comprehensive economic concept, open more to competition policy and labor. Europe would be safer, richer, and younger with this war-torn country as a member, as Ukrainian President Poroshenko said a few years ago. Economic interests, better relations with Ukraine, or more control over its basic or major resources, such as energetic gas, from the European Union. The negative scenario would be EU confronting three main crises that have repercussions in all aspects: economic, political, and social. And if Ukraine does not result as a stabilized country as they wish, more chaos would repercute in the European Union. It represents a threat to European security. According to BBC News, it has been the major security crisis after the Cold War, which ended in 1989.
Conclusion: Russia's actions and the response of the West will not lead to the destruction of the current international order, but could accelerate the process. In recent decades, the Western powers have benefited from an international architecture designed and conducted themselves. In general, it is unclear what will be the implications takeover in Ukraine by Russia. More than ever, Ukraine is a country with huge differences between its western and eastern regions and could be falling apart in a slightly richer poor western state and an eastern Russian protectorate. Recent events indicate that the invasion of Crimea will have strong consequences. The international arena seems to depend on Russia's indifferent global issues, and the EU do not seem willing to start a war. Cycle 2014. There are also negative implications for Russia itself, as has intensified domestic political and economic pressures that Putin's authoritarian regime was already suffering. This has created a domestic pressure which could lead quickly into a full-fledged authoritarianism or the collapse of the regime. The end result is today a mystery. On the other hand, there is a clear challenge to the EU order. With the annexation of Crimea and its intervention in the Ukraine, Russia has questioned the principles that underpin the European order. Russia has always opposed the principle that countries are free to choose their alliances and has tried constantly often to boycott the enlargement of the NATO towards its neighborhood. But now Putin is challenging these principles openly. Russia wants to restore a legitimized sphere of influence and guiding principles of the EU order. This is a direct challenge to Europe and the West. Durkowin, 2014.